Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Can a bulldozer vault out of this? Morrison has 7 days to try. May 14, 2022, 5:00 am. Save login, register or subscribe to save articles for later. Share normal text size, larger text size, very large text size. 319 View all comments. The telltale came towards the end of Wednesday's debate, when each of the two leaders was asked to name one redeeming feature of the other. Scott Morrison started well. The thing about Anthony that I've always admired is that he's never forgot where he's come from. He grew up in Housing Commission, rose from very humble beginnings to become the leader of Australia's oldest political party, and he should be commended for that. Illustration: Jim Pavlidis credit, the age, but he couldn't help himself. But to do this job, you need to know your stuff, you need to be across the detail, you need to not make things up on the run, and you can't be loose on the economy. Anthony Albanese laughed it off. He was trying there and then paid compliment to Morrison for being absolutely committed to his nation, and I admire that. He also applauded Morrison for his commitment to mental health policy. The Prime Minister's only comeback: I must have misunderstood the question. Oops. It was a telltale because it demonstrated that Morrison was fully primed to attack, even when he shouldn't. He's on a trajectory to lose the election next week and desperate to do whatever he can to tear down Albanese. It's his only chance. Morrison acted on the same urge this week when Albanese said he absolutely supported raising the minimum wage to keep up with consumer inflation, which is running at 5.1% a year. It was a one-word answer from Albanese that looked offhand, and the Prime Minister attacked relentlessly. Mr. Albanese showed yesterday that he is a complete loose unit on this stuff. He just runs off. He just runs off at the mouth. I mean, it's like he just unzips his head and just lets everything fall on the table. That is no way to run the economy, because that only leads, if you vote Labour, to having a leader who can make interest rates worse, who can make inflation worse. He warned of a vicious cycle. It's like throwing fuel on the fire of rising interest rates and rising costs of living. And this is a perfectly legitimate line of attack. Australia did have a problem with a vicious wage price spiral in the olden days of a fixed, centralised wages system. Rising prices fed into rising wages, which pushed inflation higher, which pushed wages higher again, and so on. Until the Reserve Bank intervened with higher interest rates to quash the inflation in the system. It kept Australia in a destructive boom-bust cycle. All true. And it was irresistible for Morrison because it played perfectly into his central critique of Albanese. This is a gift that the Liberals doubtless will package into TV ads on their favourite theme. Albanese's campaign gaffes show he's a risk to the economy. But the overarching political point is this. Most voters won't hear Morrison's detailed arguments about the economic system. All they hear is that he's opposed to a pay rise for people on the minimum wage, which is $20.33 an hour. So a 5.1% raise would amount to $1 an hour. And when asked the straight question by a reporter, do you support Australians on the minimum wage getting a pay rise, so it keeps up with the cost of living? He couldn't say yes. The best he could do was, I support the process we've always had for the setting of the minimum wage. In other words, leave it to the Fair Work Commission. It was the Labour leader's turn to pounce. Scott Morrison is saying, wages will always be lower under the Liberal Party. That is what he is making very clear, and now he's saying, if we give people who are on the minimum wage just $20.33 an hour, we give them an extra $1 an hour, the sky will fall in. What they know about this bloke is that he is not on their side. It's actually even worse than this. The employer lobby is saying that a rise in the minimum wage of 3% is acceptable and responsible. So now the argument is between 3% and 5.1%. That is a difference of just 40 cents. So, in effect, Morrison was thundering against the evils of giving the lowest paid people in the country an extra 40 cents an hour. Opposition leader Anthony Albanese addresses the media on Friday. Credit, Alex Ellinghausen, it was a mistake. Morrison was so caught up in attack politics that he lost sight of retail politics, so intent on his rival that he forgot the voters. It's okay to have your campaign attack the other guy brutally, but for the leader himself to do it is risky business. He might have retained the support of the small business vote, but at the cost of the voters he really needs to win over. The Liberals have now realized their